going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in again. So in today's video, we're basically gonna try to fix my car again because I took it out last night. I was driving it around and it wants to act up again. And of course, it's a week before an event I'm going to. I forget what the event is called off the top of my head, but it's at Island Dragway in Jersey, up north. It's the 22nd, so it's not this Sunday, it's the following Sunday. Finally get to go drag racing again, and I just want to take the car out, just cruise a little bit, just feel it out, make sure it's okay, and it's not okay. It's just always does this to me right before an event. And what's going on is it's just going rich. I'm just cruising off throttle, and all of a sudden I started hearing it pop, 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 like backfiring off throttle, which the car is not set up to do that. It's not tuned to do that. And I look at my AFRs, and they're just pegged rich 10. I already pretty much know where to go because I've kind of experienced this issue before, and so we fixed the lean problem. So we know it's not an injector issue or fuel related or anything. Now we know if it's going rich, it's the opposite. It's not getting enough air. So I've had an issue like this before in the past. I go right to my map sensor where my booster line is and all of that, and I start moving that, and I literally lay my finger on the map sensor and the car just dies. So and this pretty much what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to try to diagnose but do some corrective maintenance because I know there's something I've been slacking on. So let me explain what I mean. So as you guys know, I have the RBC setup in my car with a K24, and anytime you go K24 in a RSX, you're always going to run into the issue where the motor is just too tall. Well, not too tall, but it's raised like 3/4 of an inch. And the issue I was running with, because the RBC has the vacuum line right here, every time I closed the hood, my hood would lean right on top of this hose. And here you can actually see some of the marks right there every time I close the hood of the contact it's making. This is a second hood. I don't even want to get into why I had to buy a second hood. My original hood is over there. I don't know if you guys have seen it in the background, but what I did is I actually cut the center section out to make clearance for that vacuum line. So I'm going to be cutting this hood because I just got lazy and I didn't feel like cutting it, but I'm going to cut this hood. I'm going to replace that vacuum line because it's worn out. Jump back to the engine bay, it's worn out. And you can see all the kinks in it. It's just worn. I've had to put electrical tape on it because it would fray on that end, and it's seen its better days. This was the K-tuned like brake booster tuck line or something like that. It was. I bought this a couple years ago. So this has got to go. I've actually hit up one of my buddies. I need to borrow his map sensor. I've never really checked or seen it, but I think, all right, let's see if we can get this on camera. There's too much movement on this sensor right here. I could wiggle it, but it's a rubber O-ring down there, and I'm not sure if that's how it's always been. I'm trying to narrow this down. We have a couple things to do. Obviously, I'm gonna get started probably cutting this hood. I'm just gonna get a grinder, chop it down, and then, well, let me start it up. Let me see what it's doing right now, because I'm almost, knowing this car, I'm almost willing to put money on it. I'm gonna start it up, I'm gonna start touching things, and it's not gonna shut off. It's gonna make me look like an idiot, but it was doing it last night. So let's see if we can get it on camera. Alright, so I hope you guys could have heard what the motor was actually doing. Once I touch that map sensor, once I just wiggle the harness behind it, it really starts to mess up. I've checked the pins on the connector before because I thought it was a connector issue, but they don't pull out. They're in there pretty tight, so we're obviously in the area of where the problem is. Again, I'm not sure if it's a sensor or if it's the connection or if it's both. At this point, I'm not really sure. What you saw me spraying was just some regular carb cleaner or intake cleaner. The reason I was using that was I was trying to diagnose a vacuum leak. You kind of, you know, if you spray, you can use brake cleaner, but most of the time you want to use like intake cleaner. If you spray that around your manifold or wherever you can find vacuum leaks, and when you spray it, you hear the engine change, you got a leak there. So I was trying to see if the hose was leaking, which it doesn't seem like it is. It doesn't seem like the O-ring at the bottom of the map sensor is leaking either, because I didn't hear it change when I was trying to stick the cleaner down there. So it's not a leak. I don't think it's a vacuum leak. Now I'm leading just towards the sensors losing its connection somehow, which could be from the hood putting pressure on the vacuum hose, which in turn is kind of like leaning on the map sensor, causing it to, I guess over time, maybe it got a little loose. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna look into that right now. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this hood. So I got that hood cut up, sweating. It's getting really hot in this garage. But I just want to show you guys, you know, I covered the engine bay. So I laid down some towels or whatever I had. Every time I film, there's somebody cutting their grass out there. Every time. Alright, whatever. So I covered the engine bay with towels or whatever, and this is why you want to cover it, because you're cutting into metal. So it's going to just leave all whatever old rust is in here. It's all going to fall. You don't want that to fall anywhere in your engine bay. When you're cutting, it's going to shoot towards the windshield. So you want to protect all of that, right? So here's our cut. I just kind of went around where I'm assuming everything is, and I did all my measurements the first time on that hood, and I just kind of traced it over to this one. That's all we want. We want the hose and everything to kind of fit in here nicely. So I'm going to carefully take all of this off to make sure none of this falls on the engine bay. Close the hood to make sure it clears all of that, and if it does, we're golden. This is pretty much the hardest part of what I was going to do today, which is why I've put it off for so long, but it needs to be done. And the other thing too is that you also obviously want to make sure you don't leave any sharp edges on here. I went over it with a grinder after I cut it, just to try to leave as smooth of an edge as I can, which it's not that bad. I mean, it's still sharp because this is pretty thin metal, but I also went over it with what's called a deburr tool, which let me show you because I didn't even know what they were until I found one. So this is your deburr tool. Here's your brand right there, Mango 2, whatever, Mango 2. Oh no, I think that's what this is called. This is called a Shaviv, and all it is, it's a little tip right here. Let me see if we can get that to focus. It's a little tip, and it pretty much deburrs sharp edges. So let me try to give you a quick example of how this works. So you're pretty much gonna line it up right there, so the little tip, you'll see a little groove, and then you just kind of go up, and you're gonna constantly keep doing this until you smooth it out. I don't know if you guys can actually see the line it's making. And look, I can run my finger on it and it smooths that out, and so that's how you get all your sharp edges out. And there you go. And that deburrs. I use this when I was making my custom intake, which was that guy down there. When I'd cut the aluminum pipe, I'd get this and I'd go around the pipe just to make sure everything was smooth. So I'll leave a link for this down below. I found this on eBay, I believe. Alright, so I threw a little bit of black paint on the cut area just so it doesn't rust and it looks a little bit better. I have my old hose out right here, and the new hose I'm going to be using, it's a Vibrant hose. So let me show you guys the part number. So there's your part number. It's size 8 size -8 hose. It's a fuel hose, but you can use it as a vacuum hose, which is this hose right here. There you go. The green tapes, I already kind of mocked it up in the engine bay. This is where I'm going to cut it off. So let me cut that off right now, and we're going to see how well, you know, I can route it. And then I already kind of was looking at my map sensor, trying to see what was going on with it. I don't think my buddy's going to be able to bring his spare map sensor anytime soon, probably later on tonight, so that'll be off camera. Again, I was just looking at everything in here, the pins. I was looking inside those pins to see if they're loose. I took this out, see if there was any hairline crack. I can't see. I'm not really sure what it could be at this point, other than a bad sensor or these pins or something in the harness is going bad. So let me just put this new hose on in, put it all back together, start it up, and play with the sensor again, see what it does. So the hose is cut. I kind of laid it out. You guys can see the new hose, the way it's routed. I also ran these kind of caps. I forget what they're called. They don't really do much other than look pretty, so just kind of go with the rest of the theme, make sure everything looks clean. I'll see if I can find a link. I'll leave them in the description, but these came, I think, originally with the K-Tune ones, but you can get these aftermarket on eBay, Jegs, or wherever. I'll see if I can find a link. But now I'm gonna get ready to start the car up again, and I kind of left a little extra space so I can loop it the way I did. So now you can see it's actually not resting on it, and because it's a brand new hose, it's got a hard, not a hard bend to it, but it's not bending down as much as the old one. So I'm hoping that helps, and especially with the clearance on the hood now, that'll kind of help everything sit a little nicer. But I still got that feeling in my gut. It's like when you know something is wrong and it's not fixed, but you're trying to convince yourself that it's fixed. I still kind of have that feeling. But I don't know, I'm gonna start it up now and cross our fingers. So let's start it up like live, real time, and see what it does. All right, let's see. Kind of funky right now. It's kind of bouncing around all over the place. Something right here, something in this sensor. So it's okay right now, 13s. As soon as I move it, There you go. As soon as I move that, it goes super rich. Yep. I'm not sure how well you guys can hear me right now. The car is idling in the back. I think I fixed it and I figured it out. It seems like it's a harness issue, or at least a connector or a pin issue, because as you saw before, it wasn't working, and when I moved the harness a certain way, it would fix. You know what, let me just show you, then I'll shut the car off and I'll explain it. Now as you guys can see, I have the harness routed this way, and if I move this, nothing. Touch this harness though. And the AFRs are staying actually higher than what they used to be, 14, which is really good. Yeah. Just want to make sure we don't hit nobody. Alright, so hopefully we got decent footage on that pass. I had my brother trying to film so we can see it. It's the first pass we did, it was a second gear pull, I believe it was. I'll definitely leave some titles in it to explain in the video. But that seemed okay. And then, no. The first one we did, I felt a quick blip in it again, because we only did 2. And then when we got it to turn around, it was a second gear pull, I remember, and it was like 4,000 RPMs. And at that time you can hear like VTEC engage, because that was a crisp all the way up the power band. And it didn't bog. And then that last pass we did around the block one more time, that was first gear rolling in, 3,000 RPMs, full gunned it, and spun the wheels, second gear spun the wheels, and it didn't bog. So I think, not that it's fixed, but I think I know what it is now. My buddy's still probably going to bring a map sensor. I'll try that anyway, and move the sensor and the harness and see. But I'm pretty sure it's a pin tension issue. So I don't know if maybe I should look into getting another connector with a pigtail on it and splice it in, or solder it into my harness. Or I should look into getting another harness. I'm not sure yet. I think that's my issue though, because if I throw this sensor on later and it does nothing, I know it's a pin tension issue, where it's just that harness needs to be a certain way, and if it's off a little bit, because this car does have a custom tune on it, if that MEP sensor's off by a little bit, it's throwing the whole tune off. So I think that's what it is. So I want to show you guys exactly how I have it. So here's how I ended up doing it, because originally I had this harness coming on the opposite side of the intake elbow, just because it's a little cleaner, when you look at it. But that meant that this was leaning this way, right? And so when I would move the harness this way, I noticed the car would just get, so much cleaner. So I figured if I can put tension on the harness to lean this way all the time, in theory, that should hold it like a band-aid, and that's what we just kind of proved. If there's tension on the harness this way, because there is some tension on this, holding the pins, I guess, in a certain angle, it's making the best contact and it's not losing it. And it's running clean. So I think this is going to be my solution for now, until I either decide, or if I figure out whether it is just a bad sensor and the pins inside the sensor are moving, or I find a pigtail connector, or I just get a new harness. So any companies out there that do harnesses for a K series and you want to sponsor me with one, send me a message, email me, whatever you want to do. I'll be happy to try your harness out. With that being said, guys, we pretty much accomplished everything I wanted to do today to the car. Ooh, hold the camera up, buddy. We accomplished everything. I cut the hood,
I put the new brake booster line on there, tried to diagnose my issue, my idle issue, my loss of power issue. Think we figured out where it is. It's just not fixed. So like in those other instances I said before, we have some options on how to fix it, but we're gonna leave it at that. All right, again, this is all in preparation for this event at Island Dragway. I should have looked up what the event was to tell you guys. You know what, let me look it up right now. It's called Extreme Street Shootout. That's the event. It's like some street, you know, it's like what English Town used to have, Street Wars or something. Extreme Street Shootout, July 22nd. I hope you guys are there. I'm gonna be there. Hopefully we have all the bugs fixed out, and we'll run some better times. So that's where I'm gonna leave it, guys. If you're new, make sure you hit subscribe, and if you like this video, or if this video give you any kind of tips or tricks or some new insight on K24s and RSX, give me a big thumbs up, because that really helps my channel out a lot. Hope to see you guys at Island Dragway, and if you do see me, come say what's up. I always love to talk to you guys, talk about your builds or whatever. If you have any questions, if you have questions, DM me. I've been on a lot of questions lately, and I'm happy about that, because I love helping you guys, and I love giving you guys as much information as I can. So don't be shy. Come up to me if you see me in person, or send me DMs if you got questions. I'm all about it, and I'll be more than happy to help you guys. So with that being said, guys, I will catch you in the next video. Stay motivated and keep making those streets louder.